anticipation.
It's gotta be good.
If I get thrown out, I'll go live with my mom.
Mama, get off the males.
Welcome to the Real Estate and Chill podcast, the newest and coolest podcast. So tune in. Two experts discussing the real estate market. Loan officer James Chudley and associate real estate broker Kevin Iglesias. Beware, this is not another boring podcast. This right here is the shit you need to hear. Respectfully.
Welcome back to the newest episode of the Real Estate and Chill podcast. I'm your host, James Shire from United Mortgage, here with
Kevin Iglesias, associate broker. Today, as always, is $1 million episode. We've been going back and forth with this young man for a while. He's a realtor. He's a builder. Who do we have in the building?
you couldn't pronounce it, Shahzad Qureshi,
AKA Pinnacle Real Estate.
Yes.
Thank you for having me,
Broker
guys.
owner.
Kevin, James, it was a pleasure. We've been trying to get this on the schedule for a long time, so I'm so glad that we did.
You're too busy
Happy to
traveling,
hear.
man.
You're going around the world,
Too busy taking
Bahamas,
flights.
Bermuda,
Yo, chill,
Bali,
chill.
every single place you're going.
Let's clear that up real quick. 10 summers, 10 winters. I worked an average of 350 days a year. So now, after the pandemic, I realized, a lot of us have realized a lot of things from the pandemic. Of course, we've lost some loved ones as well. And, I'm just trying to do a better job of taking a little time to reset. Burnout is for real.
Yeah,
I
it's true.
was almost there last year. I had a few meltdowns. And, I realized that a little more to life than working 360 days a year. So you caught me. I did take a couple of trips recently. It was really one trip spread out over. I never took 2 weeks off actually in my life before. So it was interesting. It was a little stressful, leaving all this behind. But it being winter made it a little bit easier because the job sites are a little slower. Making fun of me for traveling, and then what's next?
10, what do you say, 10 winters, 10 summers?
10 winters, 10 summers.
Sounds like a rap album.
Yo, it was real, man. It was real. Fresh out the recession, real deep appreciation for the down markets,
Yeah.
something that we could talk about. I think something that's really lacking in all the hyperbole. We just said that before, but that's out there right now. All the, the accentuation and the easy money that we see people promoting nowadays. When you come up during a down market and there's 200 houses for sale in a town as opposed to 20, which is what we're seeing right now, you know that this is, not going to always be the case.
No, it's got to correct itself, the market.
Yeah, and a lot of folks that are not thinking about this are going to get wiped out. So 10 winters, 10 summers. We'll come back to that.
I'm going to pause you. Before we get into the spicy, juicy topics, give us some info, background of who you are,
Sure.
how you got started.
Sure.
Let the audience know.
Sure. So I got to take you back a little bit. Okay?
Let's go.
Let's do it. We'll try to keep it short.
Cassette tapes and beepers and everything.
No, I never had a beeper. I had the little Nokia with the big antenna on it and the snake in class, but that's about it. I'm 35, so put a little context on that. Born in 86, graduated high school in 04. So, I'll give you an idea of where we're at. So how I got started in real estate. So I went to school. I graduated in 04. When I was in high school, my pops had actually left his job in accounting. He worked for an internal audit company, and my whole life, my dad used to get on the train, commute to the city, and work for somebody else. And, you leave at 6:30 in the morning, you hop on the train, you come home 6 o'clock at night, you get a report card, how'd you behave today? And, based on that is how your evening went. You know what I mean? And if you were a bad kid, you were not looking forward to dad coming home, And from a young age, shout out to my dad, by the way. We have a strained relationship, but, we keep in touch. We do our thing, Complicated stuff, we could definitely talk about it, but I can't talk about how I got into real estate without giving my dad a shout out first.
Yo, shout out to your dad.
Yeah, shout out to Pops. So in high school, the first thing I wanted to do was get working papers. I was 13, riding my Huffy around, dead ass, trying to find work, and no one would hire me. 14 years old, walked into the guidance counselor's office, got those work papers. Bagging groceries and delivering newspapers are the only two jobs you could do, right? Mm-hmm. So $5.15 an hour, ShopRite, first job, super heavy set kid at the time. I got some funny pictures. Not too many, but I got some funny ones. And $5.15 an hour. Fun fact, I've been fired for just about every job I've ever had, including that one. Facts.
What for?
Facts. All kinds of stuff, bro. I got,
There's too many answers.
yo, throwing stuff, hitting somebody by accident, like messing around. Yo, crazy. Like just bad time, bad place, bad luck. But yeah, I've been fired from a bunch of jobs. So I found very early, we're immigrants, and not to plug my podcast, but I'm starting a podcast, not real estate related. It's called First Gen Brown Kid, and it's really about us, right? It doesn't have to be a kid from India, Pakistan. Where are you from originally? Parents? Italy. Okay.
Allegedly.
Okay. We're all immigrants. Our parents came here. They did some wild things to get established. You know what I mean? Our parents really, the sacrifices that they made are the only reason why we can do what we do today.
Yeah.
And so, First Gen Brown Kid's going to be my podcast. We're going to have some guests on from all different industries. And the common thread is not going to be what country you come from, but more so, I made a First Gen Brown Kid because I'm a brown kid, and the avatar is this funny picture of me, super heavy from when I was 13. And my friend's super talented artist, and he drew it up. It's like an NFT, like these kids are drawing nowadays.
Oh, awesome.
My fat face.
Send it to us. We'll plug it in right here.
Yeah, we'll put it right here.
It's awesome. So, going back to that, that whole struggle, and like I said, my pops left his job in high school and got into real estate. And as a kid, we used to literally, me and my dad, I would wake up 6 o'clock in the morning. Sometimes my brother would join us too. We'd literally go to Home Depot 6 o'clock in the morning after the mosque and buy stuff. And back then in the 90s, you buy a house. If you have a pulse, you could get a second mortgage, right? We know this, right? Before the collapse. So I grew up in this, and we didn't have a lot of money, but I was around it, And back then, you have a pulse, you get a second mortgage. My pops had a regular job. We owned a regular house, and he would go buy a house once in a while, paint it. We literally paint it, paint the deck, rip up the old carpets. I was 12, 13, and put it on rent. And these kinds of houses, you hold them for a couple months, a couple years. They go up 10, 12% a year. You sell them, and you look like a rock star in a couple of years, Back then, Bill Clinton was president. We had favorable tax rates on those capital gains. You had your primary residence exclusion, too, which still exists today, for 2 years or 2 out of 5 years, tax-free up to $500,000. So we moved a lot, too. I lived in 15 houses, no joke. Wow. But I stayed in Syosset schools. So my friends thought we were nuts, you know what I mean? From the Woodbury Knolls to Sayas Clearview Village to here to there, you know what I mean? But always within that school district. So after high school, I graduated in 2004, as a middle-aged man who's trying to establish himself in real estate, as a realtor who's been an accountant his whole life, it's challenging, Right. So my pops wanted to get into building, and he did that. He built a couple houses before the recession. Meeting subs, putting deals together. Back then, it was the peak of the market, right? And I was around it, but I was a super rebel, dude. I can't get into all the stories on here, but I was bad, bro. I was bad. And I was really good up until 11th grade, and then something clicked, started hanging out, started doing a couple things, getting in trouble. And it went downhill quickly. I got into college. I went away to Buffalo between scholarship and financial aid. Pretty much a full ride to University of Buffalo. I was 17. I couldn't even buy my own cigarettes. I don't smoke cigarettes anymore, but I couldn't even buy my own cigarettes. And I was away at school with an apartment, a car, and working, okay? And at this time, back then, my pops was doing his thing, trying to get established, and I'm in college doing my thing, and I was a pharmacy major. They sent me a 17 credit schedule, and I was like, dude, I can't do this. I crashed my car the first week I was at school. Ooh. I went up to school with $1,200. And real talk, do you know what I was doing that summer before I left for Buffalo? I was cleaning bathrooms at Driftwood Day Camp in Melville. I was cleaning bathrooms and giving towels to rich kids at Driftwood Day Camp all day, 8 hours a day for $10 an hour. But I was making $400 a week at 17 years old. You're hustling a little bit on the side. Yeah. You're making $500-600 a week. You're doing good, as a kid. And I'd finally gotten a car. I was trying to get my shit together. And right before I went away to school, I had a little, we had some tough patches, first generation, firstborn.
Just calling the cops on you. You hear that? His phone went off.
I don't even know what happened. My phone's from emergencies.
You were probably holding the button down.
Maybe.
He's got a panic button set up on his phone. Yeah, I've had the cops call me a few times, so that wouldn't be the first time. Dead ass. For real. So
you were hustling, making.
I was doing good, and I went away to school. I crashed my car, and the $1,200 I went away to school with, I hit some kid's like '92 Honda Civic, and he's like, "Yo, this is my grandpa's car. It's got to be perfect." 17 years old, I'm scrounging through junkyard fenders trying to get this dude a fender and get him back on the road. So I was broke, right? I got a job at Tim Hortons. I worked at a gas station in Buffalo. Tim Hortons, bro. Hairnet, tag, still have the tag. I can pull out the Instagram post. Hairnet, shirt, visor, slacks, the whole nine. 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. Tim Hortons, $7 an hour in Buffalo, right? Not going to pay the bills at $7 an hour. So I failed out of school. I came home. I was not welcome. Firstborn, you know.
You guys always have the toughest.
The F up, you know, the F up. Now I'm home. There's 3 bedrooms. I don't have one. You know, like I said, we moved a lot. We were in a rental at this time. And again, man, they grinded it out. My pops grinded it out. I respect, you know, it wasn't easy. And I went away. I moved out. I was like 18 years old. I got an apartment. And I was really screwing up. I was delivering pizza, which is great. Great hustle. Woodbury Pizza, Mario's in Plainview. That's why I know Plainview so well. I crush Plainview. Plainview is like my baby. You could punch me in the face out of my sleep, wake me up, be like, yo, how much is this house worth? And I'll be like, there's split levels over there, da-da-da-da, and I'll tell you what it's worth because of, you know, those delivery days. And finally I went back to school. I went to Nassau. I was working in an office at that time and delivering pizza at night. I got fired from both jobs. Okay, so this trend continued. Pizza because I kept crashing my car. Yo,
You were eating the pizza or something? Boom!
No, bro, I was just driving fast, always in a rush, never paying attention, just too fast, too crazy, just an idiot, like a real idiot. And basically, Nassau was my first, like, I literally told my friends, and, you know, I had a bad track record for these new friends that I'd made when I'd first come home from school. I was like, yo, I'm going to go to school. I'm going to get a 3.5 my first semester. Shout out to Ryan Hassel. That's my boy still. He laughed in my face, bro. And I was like, yo, I was an A student in high school. How the hell are you talking to me? Like, I can't go get a 3.5 at Nassau, right? So I went to Nassau. I crushed. I did 62 credits in like 18 months, I want to say.
Oh, wow.
3 summer classes, 1 summer, 3 summer classes next summer, and 3 semesters, I was out. So I racked up a 3.7. I went to Hofstra simply because I just was like, yo, it's across the street. And they have a decent accounting program. I was like, F it, let's go. So I literally walked in there in August, and I was like, yo, I want to start school next week. And they're like, we have open admission, but, like, this is a process. You can't just, like, this is not going to the DMV, right? So I sent my transcript over. They're like, you did really well. But what the hell happened in Buffalo? You didn't even withdraw from your classes. I had a 0.0 that second semester I was in Buffalo. I sold my textbooks in like April. Like I was out in May. I came home. You know, I was done. I was living with my best friend from high school at the time. And I fully failed out of Buffalo. And when I came home, that transcript follows you, you know, obviously. At the time, I was like, I'm never going to school again. So what the F do I care, you know? So after that, I crushed Hofstra. I was selling cars, selling tickets, hustling, do whatever the hell I can, kind of trying to figure out what I wanted to do. I went to a career fair at Hofstra. Nassau kid, right? Like not even really paying those big buck $1,000 credit tuition. I just matriculated to Hofstra, you know? And I walked into a packed career fair, and the girl who ran the career fair that year is one of my clients right now. They have an accepted offer as of yesterday.
Wow, congrats.
Yeah,
there you go.
14,
Congrats.
Finally.
Bro,
It only took until high school.
Yo, 14 years later, bro, to pick up that client and have, like, I was like, yo, you know you ran the career fair that year, right? She goes, yeah. I was like, and I saw one of us, you know? I was like, yo, let me build with this person because I have a shot. And I interviewed at a couple places. One of them took me, PwC, which was like the one you want, you know?
Yeah.
I interviewed for Grant Thornton, PwC. I think I did like 1 round with BDO. And the only one that asked me to come in was PwC. So I did an on-campus interview. It was against like 10 kids at school, and only 2 got picked. And I hadn't even taken a tax class yet, so it was pretty freaking cool that I got that. So I got
so
I got it.
You're just finessing your way through everything.
But I had good grades, and like I could talk. You know what I mean? So I got this internship. I get there, and I knew right away this is not what I want to do. 2 computer screens, and originally we were in a cubicle, but they had to make space for us. So then they put us in a conference room, like 10 of us. And my senior, for whatever reason, was so mean to me that it was a running joke that when he would come into the room, and every intern had a different senior because you were in a different, you were working under a different manager. And when he would come in the room, everybody would get quiet. And they'd be like, yo, who the, why is he like this with you? And we'd all laugh when he left, whatever. Long story short, they did not ask me back either. They're like, yo, you interview really well, but, like, you need to, like, get further along in your tax education to, like, really be considered for employment here. I was like, all right, no doubt I was not taking this job anyway. You know, by like the third, fourth week, I was coming on the later train with the coffee and the bagel and just being like, yo, I got to get my $26 an hour and be out of here in 10 weeks. Or no, 7 weeks. So long story short, I graduated from school. I wanted to go to law school. I applied, took the LSAT review course, got a letter of recommendation from my, the assistant dean, okay? And I was, I met my now wife in school, and I was studying, and we had a 1-bedroom studio apartment in Westbury. She had her dorm room still, and it was one of those Bollywood marriages that was never supposed to work out, but it did. Different background, different family. Crazy story. Whole separate podcast. We could do a whole series on that.
Is there random dancing too?
No, I didn't do any dancing.
Yo, that's low-key racist.
How is that racist? Yo, every Bollywood movie I watch, they randomly just dance.
So funny.
And sing.
Yeah, it's a fact. The heck?
And I just closed the book, and I was like, yo, this is not for me. I'm not feeling it. And, I linked up with my pops. We built a house together. And this was back when nobody knew what short sales were, right? And the plan was to basically pool the money to buy this with a down payment for 20%, and we were going to finance it. We hadn't, my pops hadn't been working for a couple of years. The recession was brutal. So we needed a co-signer for the mortgage, and we were going to piece this together with 20 different people. Back in the day, short sales used to take 18 months. This was back in 2010. So we got our first deal. The financing fell through, so I had to go to 20 of my friends and borrow about $150,000 2 weeks before closing.
Wow.
Okay. 35 California in Hicksville, first project ever. Bought it for $220, took a variance, had to bump it out, rear extension, full dormer. I did that one with my pops, and I knew from a young age that money and family is a funny thing, right? We always did good business, but I knew that if I wanted to be as aggressive as I wanted to be, and I was still lazy back then. I wasn't as you guys see now. I'm an Energizer bunny. I'm 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and I share the grind on social media. It's a big part of my brand because I'm really a part of it every single day. It's not just smoke and mirrors. I was in my pickup today, dirty. I went home, parked my truck, took a shower, and came here. So after that first flip, I built one more house with my pops, and I realized that I wanted to go out and raise money with investors. That was something that I wanted to do. And I took a few meetings. I talked to guys at the gym, older guys, lawyers, doctors, this, that. And I was able to secure one investor, and this is such a bad deal. Do not try this at home. Such a bad deal. I bought a flip in Levittown. He put up the down payment. I put up the renovation cost, unsecured. So this guy could have turned around when I was done renovating the house and be like, yo, it was cool knowing you, but I'm going to hire my own realtor and put this on the market, right? But I had to do whatever it takes to land my first investor. So we built that house together. We did a few together, actually. And we made a little money. We did good. We got a couple stop work orders because back in the day, you think you're smarter than everybody else and you could do a flip without a permit. Neighbor picked up the phone. My electrician called me one day. I'm 25 years old. I get a call. There's a giant sticker on my door from Town of Hempstead with a stop work order. You know what I mean? So you're like, shit, what do I do? I'm like a little kid, And I was totally on my own. I had a fortunate situation because even though I went off on my own, I was really able to sort of take some risks first and help my pops out too. So it was good. I was reckless. I was ready to go raise money from investors, do my own thing. My pops was doing one at a time and just kind of trying to build. You're rebranding yourself as a middle-aged man. You know what I mean? It's and despite our differences, you look at that hustle. My pops came here with 17 years old with $50 in his pocket. And that's why I want to make this podcast, because we all have a story that we can relate to. But from there, I built a couple houses. I got a couple different investors. I always did good business. I could still hit up my first investor, be like, yo, Mike, how are you? Like, straight up, like right now. I could go to that first flip in Levittown on 35 Piper Lane and literally knock on his door and be like, yo, Brett, how are you? You know what I mean? And that effort, have you ever seen a Levitt? You familiar with Levitts? No basement? Even back then, we would chop the slab, cut out all the old plumbing, all new plumbing, new electrical, new boiler. These people flipping houses nowadays, man, they don't have a soul. They don't care about the process. They want to make it look pretty like Pinterest. And then, you know, oh my God, look at that laundry room. I don't give a shit about the laundry room. I could buy a sign that says laundry and put it in my laundry room when I'm ready. What's going on behind the walls, right? And that was always my approach. And about 2 or 3 years into the game, I landed my first new construction project. And I would really say that this project defined my career, like up to this point. I was 28, and I bought a road, an undeveloped paper street from town of Oyster Bay with a vacant lot on it. And we had to build a new house, sewer, water, gas, 300 feet of gas, 300 feet of sewer, $40,000 for a water main. And it took them a day and a half to do it. Fire hydrant, Nassau County Department of Health, Fire Marshal, Town of Oyster Bay, Highway Department, Building Department, you name it. And I remember, like, I had the whole road cut up, ran an 8-inch water main, fire hydrant. One day, my pops comes on my job site, and I was the first to build a new construction, and that was something that I felt was definitely part of, like, the vision. And he comes onto my job site and he goes, yo, I have no stomach for what you're doing right now. You are out of your mind.
That's crazy, though. Yeah. Like, what you're doing, like, just...
it was, and you can go there, 53 Cortlandt Avenue, 53 and 50 and 53. They're across the street from each other. I extended a road, did 2 brand new houses, and that was what... I almost died. I lost $100,000 trading that year, too, because I was trying to hustle up the money to get more money to build the first house, and I lost it all. 97 out of 100 grand back in 2014, trading Forex. I used to have chest pains at night. I thought I was going to die, dead ass. And I survived, and we sold both. I made a little money. I landed a good investor. And from there, I built another 8 or 10 houses with this investor. But always in the back of my mind, I was trying to grow this realtor brand, right? Like, I knew that, like, I had, and we all have, a unique skill set in real estate, you being in the finance background, you being a realtor, myself having the construction and real estate background, that I could be a good realtor one day if somebody could look past the fact that I look like I'm 12 years old. You know what I mean? I'm 35 now, so imagine what I looked like 10 years ago. You know, I got a couple grays, you know, mixed in now, some fine lines, you know, but 25, 26, I was a little kid. Like, who wants to buy a house from a kid? I'm sure you struggle with that too, you know, and then they see your numbers. They pull up that Zillow profile, or they see, you know, number 1, number 2, number 3 in the company, and they're just like, holy shit, like, you're really about your business. But as an independent broker, and I formed Pinnacle Real Estate back in 2013, but I didn't fully shift my broker's license over until about 3 years ago, because, you know, I felt like keeping that broker's license with my pops would have been helpful. He also was an independent broker. He started with Prudential back in the day. Now they're called Element, of course. But again, like, I wanted to do more, right? And so I was able to leverage that early experience, kind of help out also, and go off on my own. And I was barely getting a couple of deals done a year outside of my builds. And over the last couple of years, I've been able to really grow the Pinnacle brand to be a realty. You know, it's not easy, especially as an independent broker, when you don't have the marketing dollars behind you, when you don't have the big name, the big signage, you know, and all of that that help that comes with being part of a major brokerage. So Pinnacle is my brokerage. I'm 100% owner. I have 2 agents. My wife, who I finally convinced to jump on board, and you know, that is fun because I was able to kind of help her study and go through that. But also, you know, it's tough to live and and work with somebody that you're married to also. So of course that comes with some unique challenges. I have a young agent that I've been mentoring for a number of years, Ali. Shout out to Hadi. That's my guy. We have we bump heads. You know, he's a firstborn. I'm a firstborn, and he's 9 years younger than me. but we met on the basketball court like we were talking about before
Yeah.
at Lifetime, and I used to guard him because he was the fastest kid on the court. I just wanted the workout, I always want to do the work, man. That's so important to me. So he works for me part time. He's doing his thing, getting his master's and whatever. But I've really the pandemic has been so tough, but at the same time we were ready. I know you guys, we talked about the YouTube channel, and we can segue to that. But
So the
that's
content,
helped a lot.
Content is definitely king, because before I was even on social media, it's funny. 2 people would always pop up on my YouTube recommendation. It was Handsome and it was you. And it's funny, I didn't know that Matt, our visual, did your videos as well.
Yo, shout out to Matt from Matter Visual. This kid, we're the same age, plus or minus, so I shouldn't say kid. This young man came up to me like 5 years ago, and he's like about 4 or 5 years ago. It was winter. I had just poured a footing on a brand new construction in Hicksville, and he's like, "Yo, I think video is a big piece that you're missing from your approach. Are we good on the mic? Is that okay? I think video is something that's missing from your repertoire, right?" So I'm like, "Okay, tell me more." He's like, "Listen, I just started this company. This is what I do. I help build lifestyle brands. I help build personal brands." I'm like, "Okay." I was like, "So let's go all in. Let's make an episode every week." And you guys do this, right? That is a huge commitment. You think an 8 or 10 minute video is like, you just shoot it, whatever. Nah, man. With revisions and meeting up, and like the mic wasn't working, and then let's get the better mic, So then I bought a lav mic, and like we did a couple. Bro, I did 70 episodes straight. 70 weeks. That's not a joke. Like that's serious. And does that mean my vibrating? No, I did 70 weeks straight, right? And at first it wasn't growing at all. Like I would make a video and then beg for views. Like go on my Instagram and be like, "Please watch my video so I can break 100 damn views." You know what I mean? And Matt would say like, "Yo, evergreen content is important because people are going to come back to it," right? And I didn't even know what the hell evergreen content was, right? What the hell? I'm picturing trees. You know what I mean?
I'm over here thinking, like, what is he talking about?
and I listened, and we bumped heads too. And we had a great run. And I'm tough, man. This smiley, happy-go-lucky idiot that you see on Instagram all day, I'm tough, man. I have a temper. I'm toxic sometimes. 80 hours a week, which is not like. And I have like very high expectations of the people around me. I know I'm the owner, so I have to do more. I'm with that. But like, even at home, my wife would be like, "Can you stop? Can you just stop? We're having dinner. Sit up. We're Lamani. We're like, sit up. You know what I mean? And like, relax. Like, you can breathe. I'm just 100 miles an hour, and that's like like what you see right now. This is me all the time. Like, this is not because of the lights and all that, So video was huge for me, man. 70 weeks took a lot of time, little by little. During the pandemic, I saw the subscribership start to go up a little bit. So I'm like, okay, right? And I had been doing video tours of my projects at that point, and once in a while I'd get a listing, and emphasis on once in a while because I was not getting listings, okay?
From social media? You weren't
I wasn't getting
generating
listings,
leads?
period.
No?
No, and I'm not your old school, like, typical realtor. Like, I do the work, but through social media and through relationships, I'm terrible at farming. I'm terrible at, I do a little door knocking, but more so for knockdowns and stuff like that. I'm terrible at like your old school. Like my tech is probably 20 years behind whatever you guys are doing, Signature, Compass, Element. These guys are on the cutting edge of real estate, like CRM and, lead creation, generation. I don't even know what they call it because I'm so old school. Like real talk, I'm still on Excel and I'm still like, you know what I mean? And I'm still doing it, sitting there on MLS and doing it old school. But video content, especially through the pandemic, allowed me to do showings without being there. And if you remember, it was illegal to even do showings. Like, think about that. Like, we just lived through some shit where you couldn't even show a house because there were testers out there trying to hit you with a $10K fine.
They're
That
still
happened.
doing that today, right?
Nah.
They're done with that?
They're
No,
doing
but
testers
they were
now,
doing,
but not
that's
not
for different
with-
reason.
yeah,
Different
yeah,
reason.
yeah.
Discrimination, steering, whatever. They were sending testers out to see if you were showing homes during the pandemic or if more than one person was in your house at a time. And I was sitting on 3 bills at a time, and I was like, yo, I'm dead right now. You know, and this all investor bread. I'm all in. I bought a piece of land in Belmore to knock down and build a new house. When I say I was all in, you guys will laugh, bro. Like, you talk about 401k, retirement plan. There's multiple times in the past 24 months that I was down to 1 or 2 months living expenses. Straight up. All in. You know, we've been trying to have a kid for a while, so obviously, like, with not having a child, you're able to go a little more balls to the wall without, like, having to worry about, like, certain things. And, like, thank God I bought my home at the right time back in 2014. But all in. All in. Like right now, I'm all in. I have 2 projects that I'm building myself. One in Syosset where I'm fully invested, and one in Hicksville where I'm, like, half investor. Bro, if I showed you how all in I'm right now, you would, like, one of my really good friends, AMW Development, he's, like, one of my best friends. He's like, yo, I don't even know how you live. He's like, I don't know how you live because, like, I would have a heart attack. He's got 2 children, 2 dogs, you know, a lot going on. You know, big business, employees, overhead, you know. But for me, I find comfort in being all in being, like, knowing that my money's working for me at the highest rate possible, you know. But video content allowed me to show homes during the pandemic, and specifically, I got 2 luxury listings during the pandemic. Okay, the first one was in Laurel Hollow, 2.7 million, and this was in March. Okay, I got the listing in October, but the house wasn't done till, like, March, and that was the beginning, right? Stock market crashing. Our buyer went from a cash buyer to not a cash buyer because they're just like, yo, like, we don't want to pull all this money out of the market when we're down 30% right now, right? Sent the video. My first luxury listing actually was AMW Development right before the pandemic. He gave me a listing in Dix Hills, 10 Estates Place, and I made that video. And after that video, they came back for a second showing, and I heard them quoting things that I said in the video, you know? So I was like, this is something. This gives people something to go home with. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Video content, whether it's before the showing or after, especially for new construction or something that's a new listing, the video content allows you to go. You asked for gems, right? You guys asked for gems. This is a gem right here. The video content allows you to either allow them to preview something or allows them to go home and after seeing 5 or 6 houses, and now it's different, right? Like, a buyer's literally got to, like, make a decision faster than, like, the time it takes to drive back home, you know? But otherwise, people used to go out, look at 5 or 6 houses, and it would all kind of blur together, you know? And I think we'll get back to that point where things will normalize a little bit, but that video content allowed people to go home and kind of realize how we're different, you know, where the quality lies. And the new construction space, I'm sure you guys know there's a lot of hacks out there. We're not going to name any names today. A lot of people calling themselves the king of this and the best of that, and I hate that. I hate that because we're all students. You know, we're all learning every single day. Every transaction that you do makes you a better realtor. Every transaction that you do makes you a better loan officer. You would never call yourself the king or the boss of anything because, like, we're the boss of our little universe. But, like, come on, there's people that have been doing this longer than we've been alive.
You know what I did? Once I said I was the best loan officer in the game. It was the only time I ever said it. Never said it once after that.
No, it's okay.
I was like, I don't like saying that because, like, I pride myself being like my best.
Yeah.
But, like,
listen,
I feel like it's not like
I don't mean that in a bad way.
It's not like my thing.
Listen, I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean until you're on LeBron James's level, you can't call yourself the king. Yeah. You know what I mean? Ryan Serhant, and I met him a couple times, and I used to do that. We could talk about networking too. I used to do that. I used to chase around, like, trying to, like, Sarah Golan, big shot realtor in Brooklyn.
Oh yeah.
She got acquired by Serhant's team before he went off and started Serhant. And she was super helpful and super, like, nice. Like, she helped me to get invited to the $1 Million Listing 6 premiere in New York City. It was 2,500 people outside online, and it was only like 500 people out in line. And I remember, like, being, like, allowed to go around. It was like VIP, like when you're a kid, you know, like at a club, but, like, bigger. And I met him again at a launch that Sarah Golan did for a condominium in Brooklyn. And he can call himself whatever the hell he wants. When you sell $1 billion of real estate every year, you can call yourself whatever you want. But if you're building 2 or 3 spec houses a year, you're a realtor, whatever you're doing on the side, don't call yourself the best at what you do. You're learning. I'm learning. I'm 10 years in the game, and I still learn something every single day. And I can build a house with my eyes closed. If you pulled me out of my sleep in the middle of the night and put a plumbing fitting in my hand and said, Shahzad, what kind of fitting is this? I could tell you. I still schlep material. My friends think I'm crazy. I still run around Blackman, Home Depot, Electric Supply House. I pick up materials. I drop them off. My guy says, yo, I'm short a roll of wire. I'm not waiting till tomorrow. I'm picking up that roll of wire right now, and I'm bringing it over to you. People are like, yo, they're your subs. They should be responsible for material. I'm responsible for the project.
So what do you see like? All right. So you did explain that you were in a down market.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're starting to see the market kind of like interest rates are going up. Mm-hmm. It's going to eventually correct itself, right?
Definitely.
You're not going to see like so many bidding wars. You're going to see like we were saying before. What do you do now to prepare for like a down market?
So this is where the froth is going to be separated from the real deal, right? So those clients that you've supposedly serviced, all those reviews that you got, you better hope they're referring your name out, because as a realtor, that's how we eat, right? You can do as much lead generation as you want, but at the end of the day, a big chunk of your business is going to come from word of mouth and from the people that have really put their trust in you, especially us being young, and new in the business. Those people that can go out and say, no, Kevin came through and sold my house like 7 years ago. And if I ever had to sell my house again, Kevin would be the guy that I would hire. So I think leveraging and rehashing and reconnecting with those people is going to be a big part of surviving that next market, that next, I guess you could say the next phase of the market. I also think that as things normalize a little bit and inventory levels kind of come back down to normal, interest rates go up, you're going to see some of this madness subside. I think a lot of what you're seeing right now is people chasing the market as sellers with greed, trying to like get top dollar, and they're going to get caught. They're going to get caught with their, what's down. Because, at the end of the day, a point on the interest rate is like 20-30% of your purchasing power, and we already experienced that 1 point. That second point from 4 to 5 is going to slow shit down a lot, in my opinion. So
we're getting there. We're getting there quickly.
We're getting there quickly. So I think that as sellers get off their high horse, we're going to be able to capitalize on that, because any type of real deal correction is not going to last a few days or a few months. It's going to be a year or two cycle. And all it's going to take is, people are already throwing around the R word with commodities being what they are, oil being what it is, cost of building material. Dude, $9 for 2x4 right now.
That's insane.
It used to be $3. A roll of wire right now that I used to pay $45, I'm paying $125 right now. Like I said to you guys, I touch all the material. I know, like, the same wood floors that I bought for $3 last year are $5 right now per foot. So I think if we continue doing what we're doing and really separate ourselves from the guys that are doing a whole lot of talking and not a whole lot of moving, I think that we'll be able to survive. But unfortunately, I hate to say this, but a lot of these young cats that were chasing the easy money are going to be out. Just like the mortgage brokers of the early 2000s in their E55 AMGs. You're just like, what does that kid do? What does that kid do? I'm riding a Huffy in his mortgage. I used to see this kid in Syosset. License plate was CME4AMTG. E55 AMG. I had a $60 Huffy, and that kid was like 5 years older than me, dog. I was like, what the fuck? This is not sustainable. But that's my advice. I think that the hustlers come and go, the real workers like us, the people that really put in the effort, we're going to be all right.
Adding to that point, like the refi boom is pretty much done. Right? So it's like all these people that are coming back in. I touched on this a little bit back last week, but all these lenders who are, just calling leads and like not being a purchase-based loan officer, they're the ones that I'm seeing that like they're not gonna be able to make it. No. They don't know how to treat a realtor. They don't know how to service these purchase-based clients. They don't know how to deal with
it was coming easy.
Yeah, they don't know how to wait 3 months until a client gets his offer accepted and call a listing agent 10 times to get their offer accepted. They don't know what it is. So it's like completely different, So it's like I agree with you 100%.
I know you guys wanted to touch on a couple of things before we wrap up. Can we bash on the TikTokers?
What's your beef with the TikTokers?
Listen. It's this simple, right? Just because you're good at social media does not mean you're good at your job. Okay? I see a lot of voiceovers. I see a lot of funny dances. I see a lot of people calling out their views. Yo, your views are not gonna help your client, man. Like, I look at my views. I look at my likes. I like that dopamine hit. We're all addicted to it, right? I love when a post does well. But at the end of the day, if the post doesn't provide value, what the hell am I doing? What is this like voiceover nonsense? Like, okay, I could put some value in the caption. That's great, but like, are you a comedian or are you a realtor? These people want to be like TV stars, but they're not like. But they're not. You're selling a home. This is the biggest deal that somebody's gonna make in their life. Like a normal wage earner. They're going to buy one home. They're going to pay it off for 30 years. Stop dancing around. Take your shit serious. You know what I mean? And, like, do the work. Because there's no replacement for doing the work, And I hate to sound like a cliche, but, like, dude, I used to sleep in my car ride a Huffy around for $7 an hour. I got kicked out of my house as a little kid. Like I hustled, I sold cars, I sold other things. I did a lot, you know, and like at the end of the day, no matter what the hell I did, I was 100%. You know what I mean? Like 100%. You know what I mean? And you win some, you lose some. But these TikTokers, these social media influencers, these like I like to post again. I like a couple selfies. I like to post when I go on vacation, but I'm still bringing value when I'm on vacation. You know, if you read my captions, like I'm giving real game in there. You know, I think that's going to be a big part of this correction too. Like there's more realtors right now than homes for sale, right?
It's like over 30,000 realtors on Long Island.
Dude, half of them are going to be gone in 5 years. I promise you that right now.
But adding to your point, like I spoke about this on Sean Waller's podcast, and I was telling him how I was like, I was so focused on like the social media game that like I didn't realize I was just like, yo, I'm doing all this stuff, but I'm not actually doing the work behind it. Like I'm not networking with people who can give me business. Like I wasn't doing any of that stuff. I was just putting out posts and thinking like, oh, this is gonna do it for me, and it wasn't doing it for me. I was just like, I had to make that mistake of thinking that like, oh, this was a shortcut, but there's no real shortcut. Like you still have to do everything you're supposed to do. So I agree, 100%.
And look, we didn't join Instagram when it was booming and everything was organic and we're going to have 400,000 followers and all that. Like, there's a guy, Arjun Mortgage, who crushes. I'm sure you've seen his page. There's realtors with 500,000 followers who crush it. That's not going to be us. We're niche, you know? We're small guys, but those 4,000 or 5,000 followers or 3,000 or 2,000 followers that we have, those are the people that are going to go out to bat for us when we're not around. Yo, I know the best realtor. He sold my house in a week, you know? So we're niche, but we got to stay local, and I local hashtags, local, you know, events. You guys do the social network. You know, you guys do all the networking events and stuff. I'm a little bit of a hermit crab. You know, I'm real deal introvert. So I kind of, you know, I stay low key. And at the end of the day, like my network is the people I've done deals with and I've done business with. And when we go show a buyer a house, from the reaction that I get from that listing agent, I already know we've done our fair share of networking without having to do too much schmoozing. And no disrespect, like if that's your scene and that's what you're into, that's cool. But like, you know, I know where I fall, and I like the early dinner, back to the Netflix, take it easy, up at 6 a.m. the next day and just rock out. But I know you guys also wanted to touch on one more thing, right? So,
what do you see yourself doing in the future? You're building a lot of houses, a lot of beautiful houses.
Give us like the 10-year plan.
10-year plan. Okay, let's do this. We have a very short time right now. So 10-year plan. I can only build a couple houses at a time, you know, because I like to be super involved. So I build like 4 or 5 houses a year. I work with a lot of builders now too, bringing value as a realtor who has that experience and that background. At first, they viewed me as competition, but I think now they kind of understand that I'm building 2 or 3 houses. You know what I mean? I'm not like a real threat to a guy building 30 houses a year. So, you know, when it comes to negotiate that spec list or negotiate that, you know, that term sheet or get a deal across the finish line when this final walkthrough and there's like a million items on the punch list, like that's what I do. Like that's my specialty. So I definitely want to continue to grow the realtor game. I like to build a couple houses a year. I don't necessarily need to take on like investor capital anymore to do 1 house at a time or 2 houses at a time. So that's going to be much more selective going forward. I'd love to build up a little bit of a real estate portfolio in terms of my own personal holdings, rentals and stuff. Tough market, obviously, to be acquiring properties to hold. But, you know, I have some plans as far as that goes. Hopefully by the end of the year, I'll have 2 full single-family rentals in my portfolio. And then, man, really the biggest thing for me is to be able to give back. I want to get to a position where I'm comfortable, where I can mentor people, the next generation. You know, there's people hurting. There's people starving all over the world. Yeah. You know, I don't, no disrespect to anybody else, but I don't brag about the charity that I give. I'm not like big on that. I like to be more low key about it. I think there's people hurting all over the world, starving, no food, no water, no electricity. I think that, you know, people like us back home, we can do things for people. Like back where we come from or other countries, war-torn countries, we can do some great stuff. So I think that, you know, that would be like, if I could live my life doing a little traveling, working, and spending a few days a week or a few days a month giving back in some real deal way, that's the dream, man. That's what makes it. That's my next like goal. That's my next vision. And I think at some point, especially being that I experienced some burnout last year, there has to be a greater purpose. Otherwise, this is all a waste of time. Because at the end of the day, we don't even have tomorrow guaranteed, you know?
Yeah.
No guarantees. So that's definitely the next
$1 million
step.
game.
That was a lot of gems dropped on that.
Where can people reach out to you and get in contact with you?
Thank you, man. So Pinnacle Real Estate is pretty consistent across the board. So Instagram's Pinnacle Real Estate, no spaces, no periods, no dashes. Same thing on YouTube, youtube.com/Pinnacle Real Estate. We've got about 80, 90 episodes now. And I really, really share the whole process, foundation to delivery, before we knock it down until, and then in between when we're framing and, doing our thing, and then at delivery. Of course, you guys can reach me anytime. My number's in the whole world. Same cell number, back of my hoodie, back of everything, So YouTube and Instagram is my forte. Trying to do a little LinkedIn farming these days because it's still a little bit organic
works.
over there.
LinkedIn works.
It does.
No TikTok?
It does, no TikTok. You won't see me dancing on TikTok, bro. I don't even think I got a two-step, bro. Yo, deadass.
Well, man, we appreciate you coming by.
Thank you, bro. It was a pleasure, man.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Pleasure.
bro. Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. Well, that was the latest episode of Real Estate and Chill podcast. We will see you next time.
Take care, everyone.
Thank you for tuning in to the Real Estate and Chill podcast with James Chaudhry and Kevin Iglesias. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Also, share this with your friends, your enemies, your mother-in-law. No, seriously, this podcast is so fucking good, you might want to tell your